Back here with Vikings Pro Bowl tight end Kyle Rudolph. And Kyle, we are going to jump right in this morning. I was going to ask you, because I'm always curious how athletes stay athletic during a quarantine, let's just say. And then I found out you have twin 3-year-old girls, a 1-year-old boy. So I don't even really need to ask. But take me through a typical day. What has changed for you? What are you up to now? What's a day look like for you?
We're very busy entertaining those guys, that's for sure. It doesn't necessarily help me stay athletic, but it keeps me on my toes, that's for sure. It's been fun. You know, for me, our off season is very dictated by what the calendar says is time to do. And, you know, for us, we're usually gearing up to go back to when we can start working out at the team facility. And this is allowing me to be at home, to be around my kids. So we're spending a lot of time together. A lot of arts and crafts, a lot of puzzles. So it's been fun. It's forced us to stay home and actually spend time together as a family.
Kyle, you're more than a friend of the show. I think you've been on the show. You and Cam Jordan are tied for the most guest appearances on this show, which is actually apropos because there's a safe space. We asked Cam about his side of this the other day. Now I'm going to ask you about it. That was OPI, right? You can tell us now. It's the season's over. The game-winning touchdown catch in the playoff game against Cam Jordan and the Saints. It's a safe space here, Kyle. That was OPI, right?
It's a reviewable play, and they looked at it. The rule was in there because of what happened to them in that exact stadium the year before. So there was no way I would get away with it. The play was reviewed as a scoring play, so they looked at it and decided it was an OPI. So I just got to go with what they called.
There you go. Okay. Kyle, you're entering your 10th season with the Vikings. You talked about how important it was for you to stay there. You want to stay there throughout your career. Now I want to talk about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs famously would always wear that turtleneck, and he would always have the same thing for breakfast every day because he said that routine helped him be a leader. How does your routine and the familiarity of the Vikings help you perform on the field?
Well, he's very right. And, you know, for me, being here 10 years, it has allowed me to establish my routine. And like you mentioned before, it allows you, it's one less decision that you have to worry about. So for me, I'm very routine oriented, especially in season. I get to the facility at the same time every day. I go through the same thing, the same process leading up till meetings, and that usually includes eating the same breakfast. So we have unbelievable chefs at the facility. Yeah. So they always cook me up a scramble with the same thing in it each and every morning. And you just walk up and they already know what you want.
The usual, just like Steve Jobs. Hey, Kyle, you guys are going to travel to Tampa this season to take on the Bucs. They have a new quarterback. Where is it? I know I put it down here. Tom Brady. How disappointing for you to see Brady join the NFC?
Yeah, it would have been nice if he stayed in the AFC and we see him once every 4 years. But you know, now we'll be going down to Tampa to play Tom, and you just kind of look at their roster and all the talent that they have around him on offense and an up-and-coming defense as well. So, you know, Tom didn't go there by mistake. You know, obviously he took that into consideration, and now the best quarterback of all time is in our conference, and we're going to have to go play him on the road.
Kyle, in the NFC last year, you could make the argument the best trio, wide receiver, tight end, Thielen, Diggs, Rudolph, what you guys had in Minnesota. Obviously, 1/3 of that trio was traded away this offseason with Stefon Diggs going to the Bills. What was your immediate reaction, your gut reaction when you heard Diggs had been traded?
Well, it's a bummer because, you know, I know what Stefon brought to the table each and every Sunday and the competitor that he is and the fire that he brought to our offense. But at the same time, I know that Rick Spielman and George Payton and everybody else that's behind those decisions have our team's best interests in mind. And, you know, I have all the faith in the world that they're going to take those 3 draft picks that we're able to get for him this year and bring guys in that'll help our football team win games. Obviously, you're not going to be able to replace a Stefon Diggs caliber player immediately, but I think the way our roster is set up, you add 3 more guys it'll allow us to hopefully take the next step.
Kyle, there's been rumors floating around that Gronk might come back, and as a Patriots fan, I'm very happy, but it would be great to see him back in the league, but I'd be a little bit sad if he wasn't with the Patriots. And I can't tell how much credence to give this. Jason Witten retired, came back. Ben Watson retired, came back. What is it about tight ends where they can retire and come back, and you're the same age as Gronk? Do you think that Gronk could still have more in the tank?
I mean, I definitely think he still has more in the tank, but at the same time, he seems to be doing really, really well in his post-football endeavors. And I think the wrestling world would be extremely disappointed to see him back on the field on Sundays.
All right, Kyle, we're going to switch gears now, play a little game. Ours is less physical than football. Ours is called Drawing a Blank. Nobody's going to hit you. First up, we are going to ask you to set your bias aside for just a moment. The best tight end currently in the NFL is blank.
The best tight end in the NFL currently is Travis Kelce.
How come?
I think if you just look at what Travis has done over the last 4 years, the only tight end in NFL history to have four straight 1,000-yard seasons. It's one thing to come into this league and to be a flash in the pan and to have a great season, but you look at the 4 seasons in a row that Travis has had and the consistency at which he's played over the last 4 years, it's pretty incredible. Obviously, it's something that's never been done in the NFL before.
All right, when you say Travis Kelce, go ahead, Nick. Nick, you can go. You can. If you're not willing to talk about Travis Kelce, I would rather talk about the Patriots. So.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So we'll leave Travis Kelce alone. Take the Vikings out of it. The best team in the NFC, aside from your team, the team that you think has the target on their back, is who?
The best team in the NFC, I would say the Saints. I just go back to consistency. You know, you look year in and year out. They're a team that's there come January. They're a team that's trying to make that next step, just like we are, and get back to the Super Bowl.
Who's the surprising team, Kyle? If the Saints are the consistent team, who do you think could be a surprising team?
You know, it's funny. Each and every year, you kind of look at, people always think you look at your schedule and you're looking at the teams like, okay, you know what you're going to get from this team and that team. And each and every year, there's a San Francisco 49ers that won 4 games the year before, and then they ended up, playing in a Super Bowl. For me, I always look, somebody's going to turn it around, whether it's a New York Giants, a Washington Redskins, a team that has a fairly high draft pick, and then they end up being a playoff contender. So those are teams that I always look for to turn things around.
This will be my second Gronk question. We see you talked about how great of a wrestler Gronk is and how much of an asset he is to WWE. If you were to be a wrestler, what would your nickname be, and would you have a favorite finishing move?
That's a great question. I was actually Adam Thielen did a radiothon last week, and I got asked this same question about potentially joining WWE, and Adam's like, "Oh, it's great. Your nickname's Big Country. You could do Big Country, and that could be your nickname in the ring." And I joked that guy, Big Country, would get his butt kicked in the ring. That's not serious enough. That doesn't have the persona behind it to be a big time wrestling name. So I don't know. I'd have to put some more time into that because Big Country just doesn't seem like it would cut it in the ring.
Fair.
All right, Kyle, we know you love your guy, Kirk Cousins, but if you put him aside for just a second, let's get back to a question on the field. Other than Cousins, the current quarterback you would most want to play with is blank.
Current quarterback. So when you asked earlier, I was thinking it was perfect because the 2009 Vikings-Packers game was getting replayed last night, and I missed Brett by a year. Brett retired in 2010. I came in 2011. I was like, this is a perfect question for me to talk about Brett Favre. But you said current quarterback. For me, if I had to pick one current quarterback to play with, I would probably say Patrick Mahomes, and I would say Patrick because just of, the way he plays the game. It almost looks like he's out there on recess, and his improvisation, the way that he extends plays, as a pass catcher, you love that because hey, if I just get open, he's going to get the ball to me.
So it's really interesting because you told us the former quarterback, it sounds like, was going to be Favre. The current quarterback's Mahomes. Again, if we take Cousins out of it. As a receiver, and I know you're a tight end, but as a pass catcher, I should say, is there maybe a little added element of fun because Favre and Mahomes have similar styles, kind of draw it up in the dirt and go make things happen. Is that what kind of draws you to both of those guys?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things as I was watching the 2009 game against the Packers with Brett, and you kind of look at Brett throughout his career, and I hear stories from so many guys that were around in that 2009 season and just how much fun Brett had playing the game. And, to talk about Kirk for a little bit, that's one of the things that I enjoy most about Kirk is his competitiveness, how much he enjoys being out there on Sunday. You want that quarterback to be a guy who has that fire and just wants to go out there and compete and have fun. And that's what Kirk does each and every Sunday.
So what's the balance, Kyle, between having fun and being sort of fierce at the same time? It feels like that's a special type of personality that can combine those two things in the huddle.
Absolutely. But I think it's something that can come hand in hand. I think you can have fun being fierce. I think it's something that when you're that fierce competitor and it's what you truly love doing, you have fun and you enjoy doing it on Sundays.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.